everyone, my name is Karen. This is my channel Rather Be Reading, and today I'm bringing to you my May book haul. Things definitely picked up in terms of book acquisitions in May, so let's just jump straight in and talk about all of the books that I got this month. So we usually start off with the library books, and my library did reopen in May, which was exciting, and they are currently offering a click and collect service for holds, which is amazing because they've reopened, but it's a really limited numbers. They can only have like 10 people in the library at a time. And so basically, unless you need to go into like browse shelves or whatever, they're offering click and collect service where you call and make an appointment, and then they get your holds together, and then you pull up in this specific spot, open your boot, and then get in your car and call them, and then they come out, put the books in your boot, and then you drive away. So I had 6 holds to pick up, because as soon as they reopened and reactivated their hold service, I have so many books like that I've got requests in for at the moment. It's kind of crazy. But let's talk about the 6 books that I did pick up from the library this month. So the first one is Bad Reputation by Stephanie London. So this is the sequel to Bad Bachelor by Stephanie London, which I read recently, which I had a copy from NetGalley because, as I discovered after I got approved for it, it's actually a complete series, a book that was published quite a while ago, that the first book was being like re-released, and I enjoyed it enough. It's just like a romance series that deals with this app about bad bachelors. So it's this app where people can go on and rate their dates. So they put on like a profile for someone that they've been on a date with and kind of say whether he was a good guy, did he pay for dinner, how did he treat you, did he pull out your chair, etc. And that's kind of what it follows. And I enjoyed the first book enough, and I thought I'll continue on, and I think it's just a trilogy. So this is the second book, so I picked that up. The next one that I picked up I'm so excited for, which is Death Wears a Mask by Ashley Weaver. This is the second book in the Amory Ames series. So this is the sequel to Murder at the Brightwell, which I read, I think it was, did I read that in May or was it in April? I read it recently and really, really loved it. It's kind of cozy mystery, but like not as cheesy, I don't think, as some other cozy mystery, which is not a problem. I love me some cheese. I've got a cat up on this table again. She's not in shot at the moment. Oh, a little bit of us in shot. Honey, you have to get down. Say hi to everyone. Say hi. Say hi. Okay, get down. Good girl. Apologies for the interruption. So this is the sequel to that. I think there's like, I don't know, I'm not even going to guess because I don't actually know, but this is a series that's got quite a few books out. And I'm really excited because I loved that first book. I gave it 4.5 stars, so really excited to continue. So I got the sequel to that. I have another sequel, which is Son of Rosemary by Ira Levin. This is the sequel to Rosemary's Baby. I talked about this book when I reviewed Rosemary's Baby, and that Rosemary's Baby is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. I'd never read the book. The movie is very popular. The book is very popular. This sequel has one of the lowest ratings I'd ever seen on Goodreads. And I'm excited to read it and find out why. It's not that long. It's in like 210 pages. I'm pumped. I think I'm probably going to hate this, but I think it's going to be like a fun hate, or at least I'm hoping. We'll see. Next I have quite an interesting one, which is The Dark Calling by Cressley Cole. This is the 5th book in the Arcana Chronicles. So this is interesting in that my library only had books 1 through 4, and I was like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to get the 5th book, thinking that the 5th was the final. Turns out there is actually a 6th book being published, which isn't out yet. So this is the most recent one published. Anyway, so I put in a request to my library to purchase it because they had the first 4, and I just never heard anything. And I didn't even realize that obviously they purchased it and they put it straight into my like hold requests, which is great, but I just didn't even realize. And I picked it up, and I literally, after I picked up my holds and I was sorting through them, and I was like, wait, where did this come from? So my library got it, which is amazing. So this is a YA post-apocalyptic series where basically every several hundred years there is a big, huge event that sets off a game where there are 22 individuals who all embody a different one of the major arcana from the tarot. And it's this huge battle to the death. The last one standing gets to be immortal until the beginning of the next game, like several hundred years later or whatever it is. And so that's what we're following. The series is okay, just okay. And I really didn't think the 4th book was necessary. Nothing happened. So I hope this one's got a bit more in it. It is longer than the fourth book, but still only 340 pages. But anyway, I'm glad that my library paid attention to my whole request and got this in. The next one from the library I got is Tricky 22 by Janet Ivanovich. This is book 22 in the Stephanie Plum series. This is, of course, a chick lit series that follows Stephanie Plum, who is an inept bounty hunter. And you guys know I'm continuing on with this because there's a never-ending love triangle and I need to know how it ends. I believe there are 26 or 27 books published, so I'm getting there, you guys. I'm getting there. Then the final book I picked up from the library this week is I've Got You Under My Skin by Mary Higgins Clark. So this one is one that I need to read for one of my goals, which is for the books that have been on my physically written out to read list for a really long time. So this one actually wasn't on the list. It's the sequel, I think, to this, but I obviously wanted to read the first one first. And this is like some kind of crime. I don't really know what this is about. It's some kind of crime series. I think this one follows maybe a serial killer. But I did see, which very much intrigued me, that it's in the synopsis, it does mention that the character is dealing with murder again, this time as the producer of a true crime cold case television show. And I was like, you got me sold. Now, Mary Higgins Clark is an author who's written like 10 million books. I've always heard of her. I feel like I've probably read something from her in the past, but I'm not actually sure. But I'm excited to give this a go. And it is blurred by Karen Slaughter, who I also haven't read anything by, but people who love Karen Slaughter. So those are the library books. Let's move those over there. Just realized I'm not on the correct page in my notebook. So before we get into the physical books that I acquired this month, we will, of course, touch on the ebooks, which we have quite a few to talk about. So I purchased 5 ebooks, but then I also have a bunch of NetGalley approvals. But we will talk about the 5 that I purchased first. So the first one that I purchased is Peyton Place by Grace Matalius. So this is one that is also to meet one of my goals. And the reason I got this on ebook is because my library didn't have a copy. It seems to be out of print. I couldn't find a copy of it anywhere. The secondhand copies are really expensive. And so I looked on ebook and it was more than I wanted to spend, but they had it for $4.67, which is not too bad. And sometimes when I can't get my hands on a copy and it's from like a really old to read list, I'll just go, this was years ago that I wrote it down. I don't know anything about it. I just won't bother. But I am really intrigued by the synopsis of this. So this is kind of a modern classic. It was published in the 1950s. And basically in the synopsis it says, this book uncovers the passions, lies, and cruelties that simmer below the surface of a postcard perfect town. And I believe it follows 3 different women. So I was just very intrigued by that plot. So I wanted to give that one a go. So like I said, I splurged a little bit and purchased the ebook for that one. The next 3 ebooks that I have are all John Marrs books. So I read in May What Lies Between Us by John Marrs. Really, really loved it. I know that he's a really popular author. As I was reading this, it just kind of clicked in my mind that I see his books all the time coming up on daily deals, but not books that I've heard people talk about, just like obviously some of his backlist books. And so I searched for him on Amazon and there were 3 different of his books that were all $1.49. Also, just FYI, I'm pretty sure What Lies Between Us is on sale on Amazon for $2. Like it seems to just $2 is the price. So I would highly recommend you to spend $2 and purchase that ebook. But anyway, so I spent the $1.49 and purchased all 3 of his books that were on there for $1.49. And I'll, again, have a look at those because they seem to it's not like a deal. They just seem to always be that price, which is amazing. So the first one of those that I got is Her Last Move. So this one, I don't know a lot about these, but this one deals with a serial killer. I think a serial killer and a police detective. And I think we're following both of their perspectives. But I think the serial killer is stalking the police officer. So got that. The next one is The Good Samaritan by John Marrs. And this one is about a woman who works for a suicide hotline, but she wants people to die. I believe she's like encouraging people to take their own lives, which is so be careful, trigger warnings presumably for that one. That sounds very interesting. And then the third of those by him is When You Disappeared by John Marrs. This one is about a husband who disappears one day and the wife thinks he's gone out for a run, and then she realizes that his running shoes are still there, but he's just nowhere to be seen. Doesn't know what happened to him. And I believe we're actually following the husband's perspective and like why he has disappeared, and there's all these secrets, and his marriage is like not what it seems. So I was intrigued by that as well. And like I said, I just basically purchased them because they're by John Mars. And then the fifth ebook that I purchased this month is What She Forgot by Baxter. This is I think just a self-published random one that was on sale for free. And so I just was intrigued enough by the plot that I thought I'll give it a go. This one is an amnesia thriller, and it's about a woman who was in a car accident, and both the other driver and her passenger in her car were killed. And she's goes home with her husband, and she's got this husband and these kids that she doesn't know who she doesn't remember who they are. And then it starts to be, your typical amnesia thing. There are a lot of inconsistencies in the story of what's going on and all of that. So I was intrigued. I love a good amnesia thriller every now and again. So like I said, it was free. So I got it. So those are the 5 ebooks that I purchased, but I did also get approved for 6 NetGalley ARCs this month because I've got a problem and I can't stop myself from requesting NetGalley ARCs. So the first one that I got approved for this month is I Know Your Secret by Ruth Held. This one is being published on the 10th of June. You will have already heard me talk about this one because it's on my TBR this month. And I just literally spoke about it in my currently reading section of my most recent reads video because I'm actually currently reading this book. So this is a thriller. It's about 2 women who both have, one's a therapist and one's a patient of the therapist. And we both know that they've both got kind of secrets and things going on, and it's just kind of all about that. The second book that I got approved for at NetGalley is Invisible Girl by Lisa Jewell. So I was really excited to get approved for this one because this is Lisa Jewell's new book coming out. This one is being published on the 6th of August. And I had no idea, not gonna lie, I didn't even look into the synopsis. I just requested it, and actually when I perused the synopsis before filming this video, I was like, oh, I literally had no idea what this was about. So it seems to be about a man. Well, I think we follow a lot of different perspectives, but the key thing that was kind of mentioned at the beginning is there's this man, he's in his 30s, he's a virgin. I think he was a teacher at a school, but then he gets fired for sexual misconduct, which he's like innocent of. And then he gets involved in this chat room that is for people who are, I've got it written here, involuntarily celibate, and he meets this really like mysterious woman on there. But then I think the main thread of the plot is to do with a woman who's gone missing. I don't know how that ties into this man, and I think there's also like a family who lives across the street from this man, and it's all about like secrets and things and how it all ties together. I don't know. I've enjoyed quite a few of Lisa Jewell's books. I really like her writing, so I don't always love her plots, but I do generally like her writing. So I was quite excited to be approved for that. The next one that I got approved for on NetGalley is The Safe Place by Anna Downs. This one is being published on the 30th of June. This one I also have talked about already on my channel because it is also on my TBR for this month. This one is about a woman who is a struggling actress and her career is not going well. And then through some circumstances, she ends up getting hired to be like kind of a housekeeper / nanny, I think, for this really wealthy CEO and his wife. For their young daughter, and I think they're staying like away at like a holiday house, and she's away with them, and she's really like drawn into their lives and really enamored with this couple, and then starts to realize that maybe there's some darker things going on under the surface than what it seems. I don't know, but I was intrigued. The next one that I was approved for was The Girl of Hawthorne and Glass by Adan Jarit Poole. This one is being published on the 6th of October. And this one is actually a YA fantasy, so a little bit different from the things that I usually request, but it had witches in the synopsis. So you know me and witches, I was sold. So it's got to do with, there's witches in this world, but the main character is some kind of assassin, but then gets pulled into a group of rogue witches. I don't really know too much about it apart from that. I saw witches and I was intrigued. The next one has a very intriguing plot, and that is The House That Fell from the Sky by Patrick R. Delaney. This one is being published on 1 September. I don't know why I keep doing this with my finger in this video. This one is a horror, and it's about that there's this house that all of a sudden one day disappears in the middle of this city, and we're following a main character who's her best friend is really obsessed with this house, and the house is like really like mysterious and sinister, and no one knows kind of what's going on, and some big company manages to get the rights to this house, and they're basically like Willy Wonka style, like auctioning off, I think, like tickets to people, or like lottery. There's some kind of lottery thing for people to be able to get into the house, and if you can survive in the house or something, then you get this big cash prize. I don't really know, but that house that appears out of nowhere It's a horror. I was intrigued. And then the final NetGalley arc that I was approved for this month is The Last Resort by Susie Holiday. This one is being published on the 5th of November. This one is a thriller, and this one is basically sounds to me like the plot of And Then There Were None, but like with a modern twist. So it's about 7 strangers on an island, and they all get implanted or end up with some kind of device that keeps voicing all of their dark secrets to like the other people. I don't know too much about it apart from that. That sounded very much like And Then There Were None, and I love a thriller set on an island. So I requested that one and was approved. So those are the ebooks, the ones that I purchased and the ones that I was approved for from NetGalley. So the final category of this book haul is the physical books that I purchased this month. So I have 2 books that I purchased physically. So I mentioned, I think in my April book haul, that I haven't been placing book orders online the way that I normally would, because with everything going on in the world, one, shipping's taking a really long time, but also the prices to get anything like to Australia at the moment are just astronomical. Already books in Australia itself are really expensive, and so I normally order from places overseas that have free shipping, but the prices like for overseas have just like kicked up, and so I haven't placed an order in a couple of months. And so I decided, because I hadn't placed an order, I was going to not really splurge because I hadn't placed an order, but I was going to pick up a couple of the books that I'd been wanting to get from my like just local, where did I get these from? I got these from Big W, which anyone who's not Australian, which I think is practically all of you, won't even know what that is. But anyway, so I picked up 2. These aren't going to be huge shockers to anyone. The first one I got is Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. This is the first book in the Last Hours series, which is her new series set in the Shadowhunter world. This one is a sequel series to The Infernal Devices, so it follows the children of characters from that series. I probably won't read this for a really long time because I don't think I'll pick this up until at least one more, if not all of the books in this series are published. So I don't know when I'll pick this up, but I did want to get my hands on a copy because like books, when I can get them from, I can't think of what the word is. It's not a supermarket, from like, you know, stores like Target and things like that, always like fairly reasonably priced. I think this one cost me $14, which is a really good price in Australia, and I do quite enjoy this cover. So anyway, so I got my hands on that. And then the other one that I purchased is House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. This is the first book in the Crescent City. I can see why people are confused. I was confused, but I can see why, because the title of the actual book is like really little compared to the huge title of the series. Anyway, this is the first book in her new adult urban fantasy series. I have enjoyed everything I've read by Sarah J. Maas. I have read both of her Throne of Glass and A Court of Thorns and Roses series. And so again, I don't think that I'll read this for quite some time because I don't really want to read this until more books have come out. I don't know, again, I can't recall how many books there are supposed to be in this series. I think it's supposed to be at least a trilogy, but I'm not sure if it's supposed to be more than that. But like I said, probably won't read this until more books come out in it. But again, I did want to get my hands on a copy, and this one cost me a little bit more because it's adult as opposed to young adult. So this one cost me $16, but again, still really reasonable price in Australia. So I purchased those 2. So that's it. Those are all of the books that I acquired in the month of May. Like I said, a bit more of an increased, but I said I only actually got 2 to add to my physical TBR. So pretty proud of myself on that front. We may have more in June because June is my birthday month, but I don't know because, again, I don't know if I'll be placing orders because book prices are still really expensive online. So I don't know what's going to happen with any kind of birthday book haul next month, but we'll see. I've still got time. It's only the beginning of the month and my birthday is not till the end of the month. But anyway, those are all of the books that I acquired this month. I would love to chat with you guys in the comments down below. If you've read any of these books, if you've got any thoughts on them, or if you want to talk about what you guys have been picking up recently, I would love to know. Please like this video if you liked it. Please subscribe if you want to see more from my channel. That is all I have for this video today. Bye guys.